Michael Yates is passionately awaiting 2020 as he wants to become the next state senator for Berkeley County's District 37. In this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I sit down with him one-on-one, and be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in the Apple or Google Play stores. Well, Michael, it is so good to see you.
Good to see you, sir. Good to see you always.
I appreciate this.
No problem.
I know that you've been trying to contact me for months, but I'm extremely busy.
Yeah. Understood. You're a busy man.
Thank you. But here we are.
Yes, sir. Fine.
Exactly. And you sent me a message because you said you are actually running for Senate, the State Senate 2020 for District 37, which represents Berkeley County.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at 2020 to right now, what's next on your mind?
Growth. We have to grow, especially in the Democratic Party. As you've seen with the election, we didn't do so good. We lost. A lot of people, they cried about it, or whatever the case might be, but the group that I represent, we said now it's time to change. It's like changing of the guard. We have to take out the old and bring in the new ideas, new visions for South Carolina and Charleston. And we as young Democrats, we think totally different from what the older Democrats used to think. We're more of getting things done than just talking. We compromise, we plan out everything, and we say, okay, this is what we need to do with the Republican Party. We need to have some type of compromising situation. It's basically common sense. This is what I run on, common sense solutions. We go ahead, give them out, and we say, what would you like, or what wouldn't you like? It's almost like the affordable health care.
Sure.
They're bickering over that when people's lives are in stakes. We can just go ahead and say, okay, Republican Party, what is it that you don't like so much? We can take care of that. We can come to some kind of compromising situation and solutions to say, okay, we're with this or we're not. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we should be thinking about the people, not ourselves, not our own agendas. And that's what's hindering a lot of us right now, because we think of self and not what we're put there to do. You're a public servant. You're supposed to think of everybody and their well-being.
A couple of things stuck out to me. You talk about the election, Charleston, obviously the agenda. For that average politician in your mind, what is their agenda? I know you mentioned a little bit about it, but what is their agenda rather in your mind?
I really don't know what are they thinking. I know personally, I tell people when I talk to them, I don't have an agenda. Because if you have an agenda, you got something behind that. And you want to handle something of your own self. I believe that your only agenda should be the people, primarily. You should go out there, and that's what another thing that we forgot. We didn't go back to the basics and remember the grassroots. This is primarily what will win elections. We have to go back to square one, talking to the people, knocking on doors, getting yourself known. If we don't do this, then they wouldn't know who you are when it's time for election. And that's a problem that we somewhat have. The Republicans, they took advantage of that. They went out into the backwoods and to everybody, and they knocked on the doors. And that's what we failed to do. And me being as a politician, I feel that I need to talk to everybody. What's your concerns? And on both sides. I just don't go on my side. George Washington said it the best in his farewell address. He said, if we as the people basically go too much far, too much right or left, we will be our own demise, because we take loyalty too far to where I'm not going to listen to what you got to say because you're a Republican. I don't listen to what you say because you're a Democrat. I come in between that and say, we can come together. The new age is doing that. And the new age doesn't have an agenda. We're just out to do what's best for the people.
You're talking about people getting to know the candidates and really the politicians. I failed to mention this and ask you this, but who is Michael Yates?
Oh man. Michael Yates is a caring guy. I'm like my father. I will give you the shirt off my back if I can. If I can do anything for you, I can. I have a lot of children that look up to me and say, hey, that's Pops. Because I had a father and my mother, they've been there for me. And why wouldn't I be for other kids? And I love the kids. I'm always, anything I can do, like, I don't know if you remember the midnight basketball. I don't know if that's continuing, but I want to keep that and get these kids off the street and have them doing something that can inspire them to just say, you know what, I don't want to deal with those kind of people out there, those drugs or getting into trouble. I want to inspire to go to college. I want to inspire to be something great. What are you put here on this earth for? A guy asked me that, and I really didn't know how to answer him. And he said, what do you think about in the shower? I was like, that was kind of personal, but he said, what do you think about in the shower when you're in there? And I said, politics. And he said, that's your calling. That's what you're supposed to do. And I thought for a while, and I was like, well, yeah, I talk about it all the time. And, it's crazy that in '88, when Reagan was getting out,
Right.
that was the man I looked up to. And he taught me the charisma and to getting to know people. Now, I might be a little stronger than Ronald Reagan with foreign policies. These are the stuff that I got into,
Okay.
that I wanted to get into and learn about. Because I said eventually they will be gone and the younger generation has to take over. And we have to be well taught. Sometimes we're not, and we have to teach ourselves. So by that, I want to teach the kids politics.
Okay.
Most of them are interested in it because they don't make it fun. And I want to make it fun. So when I'm talking to them, they're like, how do you know this? I say, you gotta read. Fundamental. Reading is fundamental.
I gotta go back to your Facebook message again, because you said again, I will be running for state senate in 2020 in District 37, Berkeley County. You said knocking on doors. If you were to knock on someone's door right now and ask them about the issues that affect Berkeley County, what would you say to them?
Well, the issues I see when I moved up there is jobs. We know Volvo is up there,
Right.
and that's going to help, a lot of people get from unemployment. And I'm thinking, what else could we do to further get the unemployment rate down?
Okay.
What companies can we reach out to? With the people that don't have jobs, what can we do to help them get the jobs? Getting with College of Charleston, maybe, Centra, all these places that, that can help these individuals get to compete in this working world. My thing is working families. The economy can't flourish without anybody working. So we have to get everybody back on the working field. Granted, sometimes, you might have some of those people that don't want to do right, but, I hope to influence them to say, hey, if he did it, why can't I do it? And get them to go at least an associate's degree.
Okay.
To have them have something to where they're not, the door is not thrown in their face and say, well, you don't have experience, you don't even have a degree. And I want to change all of that and say, Miller Mott, Strayer University, let's get to some kind of agreement to where we can help them at least get some kind of college credits so they can get these jobs that we're bringing in the Charleston, Berkeley County area.
A lot of things went through my mind when you were talking about that Berkeley County. That has been a focal point for the South Carolina, really, General Assembly. As you know, there were a lot of issues that they debated there earlier this year. When you look at the legislative session this year, what still plays in your mind about that?
Whew, man. I really didn't know too much about it. I had to ask because I was in Charleston County at the time. So Charleston was my focus in running. I was going to run for county councilman.
Okay.
So that was sneak preview that you just got.
Okay.
Because nobody knew about that, so that's, but when I got in Berkeley County, like I said, what the things I've seen in the legislature, and I was getting to know more and more and learning and say, well, okay, we got some issues with this and that, and honestly, I have to find out more and more before I, talk about it. That's one thing my dad told me, don't look like anybody's fool. Learn before you speak. So that's one thing. I won't comment on that because I don't know the full story about that. I'm gradually getting up with councilmen and senators around there to see what can be changed.
Yeah. And I know that you talked about, obviously, at the time, wanting to run for Charleston County Council. Obviously, there's a new slew of council members there, from Brantley Moody on up. What letter grade would you give to Charleston County Council right now?
Woo. Right now, let's see.
What brought you to that conclusion?
Things I see that could be resolved easily, especially with the Sami issue. They handled that, accordingly. Some other people on the board, I won't name, I just see there's no change. We have to evolve with the years coming up. And it seems like we're always last. Charleston's always last for everything.
Okay.
From my coming up in Charleston County, in the school board, and it just seems like, why didn't you do that instead of this? It's common sense, basically, things that I sit back and wonder, why would you think that? And I never could get to anybody and say, what was your thinking pattern when you thought about that? Or why didn't you say anything about this matter, about this community? There's a lot of things I feel like if you're a public servant, you should be there. Any kind of shooting, any kind of thing that's affecting your district, you need to be there. And you need to be a representative, like you put your hand up with the oath and say, I want to protect and serve. Mm-hmm. That's what I believe dearly.
And obviously you're good friends with Marvin Fendalvis, as well as obviously Shakur Francis. Shakur Francis is not going to run for Seth Whipper's House representative seat.
Yeah.
Marvin is. And obviously Elder Johnson told me right here in this same area that he's going to seriously consider running for that seat. What is your take on that? What do you read into that?
Me and Marvin met 2 years ago. And I told him a quote, and I told him he could take it if he wanted to. I told him, I have a fire that can't be extinguished. Meaning, I got good 20 years, and he has a good 20 years in him. Sure. And I know he's a fighter. Me and him always have conversations. And I know he would do very well in this. And it shows, like I said, it shows the community that if he can come from out of his situation and into politics, that could tell you something about a man's character, what he was willing to do to get out of his situation. And I'm 100% behind Mark. I told him that. With Shakur, he's a good friend.
Sure.
And that would have been hard. That would have been real hard. But Elder Johnson, that's all I can say.
Well, let me turn to something that we're all still talking about, and that's the tragedy that happened at Mother Emanuel 2 years ago. We're really a block away from here, and obviously we commemorated the survivors as well as victims over the 2-year anniversary period. Where is your heart still 2 years later?
It's a tragic thing. Matter of fact, that next day, I was having a forum for the communities. And when I was sitting in bed, I was like, I know this can't be real. No way that, a church is supposed to be sacred.
Sure.
And for somebody to come and do that, that's just crazy. And that brought it to my attention to my mother. She's a pastor. Mm. So I've gotten kind of very strict on her, and making sure that, hey, when you're walking, you be aware of your surroundings. Look at the door sometimes when you're preaching. I know things get off and whatever, but stay looking at that door to make sure, your safety, because I might not be here all the time, so, but with that tragedy, that really hurt my heart. A friend of mine knew the young man, and they were close, and
Taiwan's.
yeah, I couldn't believe that. And the young lady, me and her went to school with Cynthia.
Right.
And it was heartbreaking. I can't imagine how it is to lose a mother, and I couldn't imagine that. That's something, we will come to pass, we live to die, and it's just sad that it happened so early because she still was young, and it's just heartbreaking when I think about it and I see it and I see their faces. And it's like, man,
Well, let me turn back to you. Obviously, you're going to be running for the state senate in 2020. Write the headline. Michael Yates will do what next?
Oh man, the Senate, I want to change things. Bring a ultimate change, not just saying it, doing it for the people. And that's what I will be conveying to them when I knock on the doors. That I might be young, but I have a lot of wisdom that I have gotten from the older people and from Seth Whipper. A lot of people don't know me and Seth Whipper has talked a lot. He's a big influence in me running. Yes. And some judges as well. So I have a lot of backup from here to DC, and it's just if I wanted to do it, and not making them a big thing behind me, but I'm solely running on myself and what my heart says. So genuinely, when I'm talking to people, that's my thing. I'm talking to you from the heart. I'm not making any cue cards or anything and saying what I want to, what makes you feel good. And I'm speaking from your point of view. When I go to the State House, I'm speaking for all of us, not just Michael. I'm speaking for all of us. So when we make a decision, you say, hey, we made this decision together. What happens in the State House, I come back and convey it to them. I notice a lot of people don't do that. Elected officials don't do that. And it's kind of sad because you are working for them. So when it's time to come back from the State House or from any meeting, you need to get with your communities and say, hey, this is what's going on. Prime example, Maryville, Ashley.
Oh, yes.
I'm from that area. It was sad that people are losing their homes. And it mind-boggling because why wasn't anybody noticed about this or told about it? So I have to look at my elected officials and say, why weren't we notified? Why didn't we know about this? So now 42 houses are being built in our neighborhood, a historical neighborhood at that.
Sure.
And it has a lot of value and a lot of memories for me coming up. That's where I got my roots from. But I feel as if I would be a senator, that's what I would do. I would just be beyond the myths that they say we don't do enough. We're not going to come and talk to the people. We only come around every 4 years. And I want to get rid of all those myths that the constituents think of. I want to be one of you that you can say, really, he's a really down-to-earth guy and he really means well. And what he wants to do is change the outcome of everything. And hopefully, prayerfully, if they love me that much, that I can go to governor.
Wow.
That's my hope. And show a lot of South Carolinians that, hey, yeah, I came from that area, but look what God put me through. So that's my ultimate goal, is to be governor one day. I know I will have trials and tribulations. I understand this, just like Shakur said. There's going to be people who are coming against me, and I understand that. That's the name of the game, you know. But I believe if I have God on my side, I can do anything.
Michael Yates, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate this.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Anytime.